I'm terribly sorry, sir, but this character of yours does not intrigue us. I'd advise you advertise this elsewhere. The one with short, nicely trimmed blonde hair and a bob, and wearing a nice black business suit, said professionally. Handing me back my design, her cold, icy blue eyes were focused on me, not a hint of remorse or pity on her features. I wanted to say something, but I just couldn't. My throat felt tight and dry. All the confidence I had built up to walk in here and share my ideas, gone. All three of them, the woman plus the two men, stared at me, all sitting at their nice, long, smooth wooden table. It felt like I had been staring at them for hours, trying to see if at least one of them would change their minds. Sadly, they just sat there and waited for me to take back my drawing. "Are you going to take it or not?" the woman asked. Yes, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate all you for giving me some of your time," I said quietly, a hint of sorrow present in my tone. As I took back my drawing and shook all their hands, all of them not even cracking a smile at me. Quickly, I scrambled to get all my papers I had spread out and put them back in my vanilla folder and made my way out of their office. I closed the door on my way out quietly and looked to my left. I saw my 15-year-old daughter, Cassie, sitting there waiting for me. Her bright green eyes scanned my face, and a frown framed those pink lips of hers. "Dad, are you okay?" she asked softly. I tried to reply to her, to tell her I was fine, but the heaviness of my heart wouldn't allow me to do so. All my hopes and dreams were crushed, and my ideas were flushed down the toilet. "Let's go home, honey. I'll make lasagna for dinner," I said quietly, reaching out my hand, motioning her to come over. She got up quietly and walked over to me. I gently placed my hand on her back, and we walked out of the studio. During our drive home, I was silent, as Cassie looked out at all my sketchings of what I thought was my best creation. Artist. Artist was supposed to be a fun, loving, funny cartoon character. She did all sorts of things, as babysit kids, which she loved, and would probably screw up a couple of times, just like any other wacky cartoon character. She also liked to play instruments and sing, but most of all, hence the name artist. Artist was supposed to love drawing. She would paint, sketch, and draw things to come to life, such as teleportation portal holes, bunnies, dinosaurs, even people. Just about anything that would make her friends and community happy. She would be considered a hero, someone with a huge heart to match her personality. But she was rejected, and now I would have to start all over again. This is the 5th time she's been turned down, and not sure how much longer I could take. After 30 minutes of driving, my daughter and I arrived home, next to our fairly sized creamy yellow house. I pulled up into the driveway, and that's when she decided to ask, "Dad, why do people reject artists?" She asked softly. I glanced over at her, and then back at my hands that were still placed on the smooth black steering wheel. I tried to search for a decent answer in my head, but even that didn't help. I was lost for words. I dropped my hands off of the steering wheel and sighed, then looked at her. "Sweetheart, it's hard to answer why she's been rejected so many times. You see, some people expect more quality in something these days. It makes life a bit harder." "But I think artist has quality, lots of it," Cassie argued, frowning. I only stared at her and blinked. Cassie looked down at the drawing, big beady black cartoon looking eyes staring up at her. I don't think you've tried hard enough. Before I could stop her, Cassie had already ran out of the car, with the vanilla folder clutched to her chest. I would be lying if I said I didn't see a few tears run from her eyes. I sighed. Even if Cassie was considered too old for cartoons, she still loved artists like her sister, my other daughter. After a few weeks, my dad decided to have a garage sale, just to get some things out of the garage and the house so that we could have more space. I thought it was stupid at first, but then again, getting rid of some hurtful memories could do us some good. I began picking up old toys that were long overdue for giving away, since I was too old for them, and as for my sister, well, memories flooded my vision. The memory of seeing both of my mother and sister in the hospital, both hurt badly, covered in blood, bruises, and bandages. The beeping of the heart monitor filled my ears, the beeping slowly decreasing before coming to a complete long beep. The day I lost both my sister and my mother. And now, Dad was all I had left. An artist, of course. Artist was like my sister. Made you laugh when you were upset, and was fun and loving. That's why I wanted artists to become a cartoon show, so she could make others happy and live heavy hearts. But those bozos, those stuck-up people, it's just, I accidentally had knocked down the same vanilla folder with the artist's designs and sketchings and looked. The papers were all scattered on the floor, and I frowned. So Dad was giving up on her already. Huh. I bent down and picked up the papers, staring. I looked at each strangely blank white paper, flipping them over onto their back to see if the drawings were there. None. The designs were gone. I felt a strong wind blow past me, and I turned my head and saw nothing. I stood up, still holding a few sheets of paper in my hand, looking at the door from the garage that led inside the house. It was now open, but no signs of Dad. What was going on? I took a step forward, and as soon as I did, something wet, something sticky had oozed from the ceiling and landed on my head. I shivered and slowly, shakily reached up and gingerly touched the top of my head. The wet liquid-like substance felt cold, and when I brought down my hand to look at my fingers, they were covered in black, dripping ooze. I frowned and brought my fingers to my nose. Ink? The black oozy substance started running from my head and down my face, making me squeak and try to rub it off. I blinked, trying to see it and make sure it didn't get into my eyes. That's when I saw a fast-moving black shadow whip past the doorway. Blinking, I walked to the doorway, looking. Slowly and hesitantly, I stepped inside and looked around. Nothing. I jumped as I heard things shuffling and quiet giggling coming from the bathroom. What was that? What was in the house? Could that possibly be Dad messing with me? I hope so. Very slowly, step by step, I made my way to the bathroom, occasionally looking down at the ink that lined the floor. Heading towards the bathroom. Maybe Daddy had ink with him and spilled it on his way there. Gulping, I slowly made my way in front of the white door to the bathroom. My eyes widening, mouth dropping. Long, nasty-looking black claws marks had been painted on the door. A message left on the door. Give me your heart. It read, which sent chills down my spine and only made my heartbeat increase even more. More shuffling and giggling sounded in the bathroom as the doorknob began to twist and jiggle rapidly, as if someone was locked from the inside. I jumped and stepped back from the door slightly, not sure whether to open it or not. Whispers of my name started sounding from the other side. It mixed with the voice of a regular teenage girl and a demon, all in one. "Cassie," it whispered, giggling quietly. "Cassie, don't you wanna play? Open the door." I closed my eyes and covered my ears, trying to block the taunting and pleas from me to open the door. "No, please," I whimpered, trying to back away from the door, but my body wouldn't move, like I was paralyzed. Temptation finally took over. I grabbed the golden doorknob and opened the door, and soon regretted it. There, standing there, was a female, with snow-white pale skin, the blackest black hair I've ever saw, with empty black eye sockets, a cartoon-like mouse nose, and a long, twisted smile across her face. She wore a turtleneck sweater, similar to artist's black and red striped turtleneck sweater, only this one was gray and black striped. She wore black capri jeans, just like artist did, with black sneakers. She looked like a more human, demonic artist, which scared me. That same black ooze substance was dripping down her hair, down her face, from her eye sockets, making her face look like it was melting. It just stood there, staring at me. I could only stand there and stare, not able to move my body from pure fear. My eyes scanned the bathroom. It was covered in ink and a dark red liquid. It splattered everywhere. I opened my mouth trying to scream, but no sound came out of my mouth, only quiet squeaking. The thing stared at me and took a step, but before it could travel farther, I screamed. I screamed loudly, to where the neighbors could probably hear, to where the city could probably hear. "Cassie!" I heard my dad's quick footsteps race towards the bathroom's door. "Cassie!" I watched as the monster hissed and reached into her back pocket, pulling out a paintbrush. She quickly ran to the wall and drew a large hole big enough for her to fit through. Her hands quickly colored it, and then she jumped through, vanishing. By the time my dad had gotten there, it was too late. He pulled me into his arms as I cried, still silently screaming from fear. "Shh, shh, it's okay, Daddy's here," he whispered, petting my long chocolate brown hair that was now mixed with a bit of black. I heard my father gasp, and I knew he had seen the mess, not only on me, but around the bathroom. But he never let go of me, never leaving me. We just sat there, on the bathroom floor together in silence, for it was probably an hour. I could hear the police sirens pulling up in the front of our house. The neighbors really did hear my scream. My dad went and opened the door, and police going around and checking the house. Whatever that was that I saw in the bathroom was gone, and I knew soon I would have to start packing. It's been a month since we've moved from our old house. My daughter and I are recovering from whatever had happened back then, and soon our lives went back to normal. However, strangely, all my artist's artwork was gone, papers and all. Before I had left, I guess that was a sign that it was time to move on and forget about artist. I stretched as I made my way into my room, towards a fairly sized wooden desk that I had bought, which had everything I needed: pencils, a lamp for me to see, pens, ink, paintbrushes, sketching paper, etc. I sat in my chair and scooted up a bit, rolling up my sleeves to my pale blue collared button-up sweater, loosening my red and black striped tie a little to get more comfortable. I scratched my messy chocolate brown hair, my eyes focusing on the paper in front of me. I cleared my throat and took a pencil, examining its points. Satisfied, I pressed the point down on the paper. Just when I was about to start sketching my new character, my daughter's scream filled my ears, and I jumped up, knocking my chair over and rushing towards my daughter's room. "Cassie!" I yelled, my sock-covered feet sliding to a stop on the chestnut brown wooden floor, hands catching my fall by gripping the door frame. My eyes widened as I stared at what was in front of me. It looked almost exactly like Artist, only it was demonic, terrifying, frightening. She craned her neck, and her head snapped towards me. Her neck was twisted at a completely impossible 180-degree angle, her face facing my way, and the front of her body faced towards my daughter. Her arms were stretched at impossible lengths, and was pinning Cassie against the wall by her wrist. Cassie was screaming and struggling, tears streaming down her face. I then looked at the demonic Artist, rage suddenly overcoming me. "Put her down!" I yelled. It only stared at me, the long, creepy smile never leaving her face. Without warning, her free hand reached out and stretched towards me. Long, sharp claws wrapped around my throat and squeezing. I gasped and coughed, trying to pry the cartoon-gloved hand off me, but somehow she was too strong. "Dad, please, help me!" Cassie screamed, crying and coughing. I looked back at Cassie, let out a slightly demonic sound giggle, dropping Cassie to the floor. Cassie hit the floor with a loud thump, and immediately Artist's claws dug into Cassie's chest, making her scream out in intense pain, blood leaking out and staining her lime green tank top, slowly coughing up blood. "No, no!" Black dots started blocking my vision, and I was having a hard time breathing. The demonic Artist dug her fingers deeper and deeper into Cassie's chest, and in one quick tug, it pulled out my daughter's beating dark red organ. My poor baby's heart. Tears filled my closing eyes as Cassie's corpse lay there, unmoving, eyes still open wide and blood pooling from her mouth, running down her cheeks and pulling around her head on the floor. My heartbeat increased rapidly, and the next thing I knew, I had passed out. 2 months of being locked up in here. 2 months. I was surrounded by white, cushiony walls for what seemed like forever. I sat in a corner rocking back and forth, tears running from my eyes. I had lost everything. My wife, my daughters, my happiness, my sanity. I tried to move my arms from inside the straitjacket, but my arms weren't going anywhere. I wasn't going anywhere. The bright lights that lit the room started blinking, and my eyes widened. Every time when the lights wore out and I was in complete darkness, I saw it. And not just it, but my family as well. My wife, my 2 daughters, all very pale with empty eye sockets, with that black sink ink running from them and their mouths. All 3 of them had holes the size of their fists in their chest. When the lights went back on, all 4 were gone. I quickly got up and looked at the camera. "Help!" I screamed. Let me out of here!" I screamed at the camera. The camera guard just stared at the screen in that certain room, confused. Whoa, what the fuck?" he mumbled as he watched. Soon after a while, the crazy man screaming at him to let him out of there, and the camera fading in and out of the room, going from a black screen to recording the room again. He paused it, and his eyes widened. The man lay dead, eyes ripped out of his sockets, and a hole in his chest, blood pooling around him, and his heart missing. The fuck? The camera guard quickly scrambled up and turned to get the guards, but as soon as he did, he soon found himself staring at a tall female beast-like ink demon. The camera guard's mouth opened, but nothing came out. It giggled, leaning down a bit to be face to face with the camera guard. "Do a rejected cartoon a favor, and give me your heart." This just in, after an investigation in Ruby's house January 12th, 2014, mysterious gruesome deaths of Cassie Myers, Ruby on April 4th, 2014, on Elm Street, Dylan Roderick, Ruby, on May 30th, in a mental facility just down the road from West Admiral Doyle Drive, and Phil Stephen Joyhart in a mental facility in the camera room. 3 local executive producers, Sandy Mary James, William Donis Randallson, and Ronald J. Kober, were also found dead in their homes, all brutally murdered in mysteriously the same way. If someone has any clues to just who the murderer is of all these crime scenes, contact your local police department immediately.